Lesson 10.6 is solving linear rationals with LCM. And if you're not familiar, LCM stands for least common multiple. And so a least common multiple versus a greatest common factor, multiples have to be that number or bigger. Think you're multiplying. So for example, if I had 4 and 3, and I said, what's the least common multiple? It's like you're counting by fours. 4 plus another 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Multiples of 3 would start with 3, and then 3 plus 3 is 6. 9. 12 would be my smallest number that they both have in common when you're like multiplying by that number. So factors are numbers inside something. So that's the difference. I had a friend once ask me that. Okay, so then let's start with just a normal equation so we can kind of prep our brains for what's coming. I want you to look at all the denominators here. We've got 3, 6, and 24. I would not really like to solve this equation because I would have to subtract this fraction from a fraction and then multiply by the reciprocal or divide by this fraction to get x. I have a faster way that I can take to get rid of the fractions and solve it. So what is the least common multiple of 3, 6, and 24? Well, I couldn't pick 3 or 6 because they're not the biggest number. I could have 24, which actually is true because 6 times 4 makes 24 and 3 times 8 makes 24. So I'm going to take this whole equation times 24. And it's going to be like magic. So maybe put it over 1 so you know how to multiply. When I multiply each thing, I'm going to multiply straight across. I got 24 times 2, which is 48. Over 1 times 3 is 3, x. Then next fraction, 24 times 4 is 96. 6 times 1 is 6. And then 24 times 1 is 24. 24 times 1 is 24. Okay, so let's look what happens here. 48 does divide by 3. It's 16, x. 96 does divide by 6. It is 16. And then 24 does divide by 24 to make 1. That would be easier to solve. I'd subtract the 16, which is negative 15 divided by 16. It doesn't come out to be a nice number, but that's my answer. So I would much rather do that than mess with fractions. The faster way to go from the get-go is instead of getting such big numbers, I'm to check divide first. So 24 divided by 3, they can cross simplify, would be 8. And 8 times 2 is 16. Next one, I would do 24 divided by 6, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and 24 divided by 24 is 1, and 1 times 1 makes 1. That's what we're going to try to do with algebra. Okay, so number 1 just wants us to solve. So instead of dealing with all these fractions, because I would have to try to get a common denominator to put these together and do a proportion, which you could, it's more work. So look at our denominators. We've got an x, we've got a 10x, and a 10. X is like a piece and 10 is like a piece. I have to multiply them together to get 10x, which actually already shows up right here. So our least common multiple of this is the 10x. Okay? So it's like every part that you see has to show up as multiplication somehow. All right, so then if I'm going to multiply, you can put it over 1 if that helps you. You're going to distribute to each term. So I'm going to have a 10x times 1, which is 10x. 1 times x is x. 10x times 2x plus 1, and this is a plus sign here, over 10x, because 1 times 10x equals 3 times 10x is 30x. 10 times 1 is 10. Now let's simplify. X divides by x, so all I have left is 10 for the first term. 10x divides with 10x, so all I have left is the plus 2x plus 1. Since this is a plus sign, I don't need parentheses anymore. And then 30 divided by 10 makes a 3. And so now all I have to do is solve it. I forgot my x, 3x. So I would subtract 2x. 10 plus 1 is 11. 3x minus 2x is 1x, or x. So x is 11. It'll get faster the more you do it. Okay, let's try another one. Number 2 has a whole number 7. Put it over 1. So our denominators are x, 2x, and 1. I can't do 1 because that doesn't have 2 or x in it. I can't just do x because I also see a 2 showing up. This 2 times x is my least common multiple. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing times 2x. And so I'm taking 2x times 8, which is 16x. 1 times x would be x. The x's are going to cancel. So really you could have cross-canceled the x's here in your mind. 2 times 8 would just be the 16. But anyways, there's minus. That's going to be important. 2x times the 3x minus 1 over 2x. Those are going to cancel. So really you could have cross-canceled these in your mind and just had the minus the 3x minus 1. And then here, I've got 2x times 7, which is 14x, over 1 times 1 is 1. So my equation now is 16 minus 3x minus 1, keep the parentheses around it, equals 14x. Now I have to distribute the negative, so that would be 16 minus 3x plus 1 equals 14x. And now I solve like normal. Add 3x. 16 plus 1 combines to make 17 equals 17x, divide by 17. So x would be 1. And that's it.